So Thomas Ravenel also started on the first season of Southern Charm, and he's actually the first person that we meet on the show. He literally, like, his voice and like his confessional are like the first like moments that we get about Southern Charm and about Charleston in general, which I
Oh
think is
yeah. And about
super
him and
interesting.
his being like a failed or like a disgraced politician.
Yes. Yeah, we find out right away about the fact that he's like a disgraced politician. He talks about how, his family's been there since the 1680s. He lives in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the US per capita, whatever that means.
Which is a fact that he knows.
It's the fact that he knows, he's aware of it, because I think when that stuff is important to you, it's like really important to you, right? So
I mean, the Ravenel Bridge we see once
yeah,
an
well,
episode.
there you go, exactly. They're talking about the fact that like his dad's name's like on the bridge, and it's a whole thing. So yeah, so Thomas is definitely kind of like the person that brings us into the show right off the get-go, which I think is kind of interesting, because I think if you think about like unreliable narrators and the way that like we get Thomas's point of view kind of like right away, and we then follow for like the next few seasons of kind of like feeling like, oh, woe is Thomas. Like I wonder if we're kind of like, we feel that way because we're set up with him being kind of like our first big character, our first big get, right? Because he probably was a pretty big get for this show that like,
Oh yeah.
was just like a random.
But it was also just so confusing. I definitely remember trying to start Southern Charm a couple times, just being
Yeah.
like, why is there this 50-year-old dude and then
Yeah.
this like 20-year-old girl and then
Yeah.
like some people in between and
Yeah.
like what's happening here?
And why is everybody acting like it's like super normal that like he's pursuing this like 21-year-old?
Yeah.
Like what, even one of the first scenes, or at least yeah, for first parts of the episode, he's talking about how he wants to get back into politics and how he he needs to settle down because he's been indicted. He's has these like drug charges against him, and now he needs to like re-enter the political career, and he to be able to do that he needs to have a wife. And like his friend is literally being like, well, what about Kathryn?
Yeah,
And it's
like
just
how
like,
about this child bride?
yeah, exactly. And he keeps on like saying things like she's
It's
like a
so true.
scion of these two great Charleston like old Southern families, and it's just like, but she's literally, anyways, whatever. We won't get into that because we'll talk about Kathryn eventually as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Thomas is a very interesting character from the get-go. Let's just put it that. For some memorable moments for Mr. Thomas, do you have any that kind of like stick out right away for you, Carrie?
So the one that comes to mind right off the bat is the
Yeah.
Raise the Roof campaign. His campaign video.
Yeah, in season 2.
Like Thomas raises the roof, but he won't raise your taxes or something like that.
Yeah. And Kathryn gets so upset. She can't believe that she's like, this is not serious.
Yeah. Also, the one it was directed and produced by Whitney, of course, filmmaker.
Directorial debut. I don't know about that.
His all of his like dinner parties from hell where he would
Yes.
like invite people over and then just like say horrible insults and scream at them and like chase them out of the house.
Yeah. Yeah, those were also pretty bad.
And also just in general being a horrible garbage trash human.
Yes. Yeah, that is unfortunately probably what we will remember Thomas for the most out of all of both Southern Charm and just, for the rest of our lives. Unless like something really crazy happens, like he becomes like a Mother Teresa. But yeah, so definitely a lot of vindictive fights with Kathryn, and just like always trying to control the purse strings around their relationship, always trying to like control ownership of their children, always trying to like have other people question Kathryn's sobriety, and not have anybody question his sobriety, kind of being a pretty key factor there. I think also one scene where he goes out to, I think it's lunch with his dad, and they leave like the most abysmal tip in the world for this poor waitress that like had to serve these really old gentlemen. Let's call them that.
Oh also, I just remembered him trying to speak French. That was another
oh god,
one.
yeah. So he'd go to the restaurant. Escargot.
Escargot.
Je voudrais les escargots.
Oh my god, so horrible.
It's so good. It's so good. I just feel like it was so interesting. He was always using this show as an opportunity to show himself playing polo, or maybe he really just does genuinely play that much polo that they happened to always be filming it, but he was always like, he'd be like so sweaty in his like t-shirt. And there's one scene, I think in season 3, when Kathryn's come to the polo match. She's supposed to like drop off Kenzie so that Kenzie can watch her dad play polo. And Kathryn leaves because she's upset that JD and Liz are there. And he gets like so upset, right? He's like so irate that she's done this. And he like just like tears off his shirt and he's all like gross and sweaty looking. I'm just like, ugh, it's like burned in my brain for the rest of my life.
Oh gosh.
Anyways,
yeah.
so that's Thomas.
Yeah, he has to go down as like probably top reality television villain of all time, just because like I really just think he's a horrible person.
Yeah, and like I think that what he's done to like the like 3 women basically on this show, plus like other things beyond that like we'll kind of talk about a little bit briefly. It's not good. It's not good. He's not a good person. He's not a good dude.
No.
And yet he fooled us, or fooled portions of us for a while, and probably still there. I'm sure there's still some Thomas supporters out there. Like I wouldn't put it past anybody, unfortunately.
Oh, he just gets so irrationally irate and like angry, and like just his treatment of Kathryn is just she was a child
she
when
was
they
literally
met.
21 years old. Like she was nothing. And like just like hearing him talk about her as like, you know, what was it, Senator Barbie or something, and just
actually in
really not great.
No, I was rewatching like some of the episodes of each season just to kind of like refresh my memory because I haven't seen it in a little bit. And there was one what season was it? When Kathryn has Kenzie, like she has
it's season 2.
Called? Yeah. So she, oh my god, I'm like, ownership, that's not the right word.
she has custody.
She has custody.
That might be season 3. She's like pregnant with Saint, and she has custody of so
Kenzie. She has custody of Kenzie, and he's like, oh, like unfortunately, like in Charleston, like the mother pretty much just gets custody. But that means that I don't have to pay child support. And he was giving her like $2,500 a month to care for like her kid and her newborn baby, and like just would like not give her any money when he is extremely wealthy.